Hi, and welcome to Carolina Varsity's 2013 look at the 4AA NCHSAA playoffs. I'm Dale Ross.
And I'm the pet man, Matt Morrow.
Matt, the first game we'll look at is number 7, Providence, at 8-4, going up to play number 2, Mallard Creek, 12-0. Last week, Providence defeated West Mecklenburg 14-7. Let's take just a second to talk about the ball game.
Yeah, it was a defensive struggle. Providence got up early on the kickoff return, first play of the game. West Meck came back second quarter, tied it at 7 on a nice touchdown pass down the sideline to Van Smith. And it was tied all the way up to the fourth quarter. And Providence, off a turnover, forced in West Meck territory, was able to methodically drive the ball down. And after some controversial things happened, I noted in my article,
Right.
I won't rehash all that. Caleb Gord scored on a 5-yard TD run with about a minute 24 left on the clock. West Meck got the ball, was able to move the ball all the way down to the 7-yard line with 3 seconds left, and made a questionable at best play call, in my opinion. That fell incomplete, and Providence was able to win the ball.
Yeah, so my takes from that ball game, I arrived at halftime. West Mecklenburg played extremely conservative, like they were trying to protect the lead. It was 7-7, but I think maybe that was working in their favor. They were driving again after controlling the ball for almost the entire third quarter without scoring. But here we were in the fourth quarter, and it was still going about the same way. West Mecklenburg would move the ball, but then things would happen. But it looked like maybe things were going to pull together for them, and then Van Smith had the fumble, and that was at the West Mecklenburg's own 40-yard line, leaving Providence in a position of getting somewhere between 5 and 10 yards. They could kick a field goal and win the game, but Providence was able to drive it all the way down and score. Of course, Providence didn't throw the ball much at all. So what we'll see coming into this ball game, we'll talk about here in just a second.
Right.
And of course, Mallard Creek defeated Audrey Kell 62-7. I don't think there's too much surprise there.
I think the only person surprised was Hookham's crystal ball.
Yeah, his crystal ball turned to Maverick color. Went from that Audrey Kell purple to that.
We love you, Hookham.
Yeah, we do. So I think for this ball game, it's going to come down. First of all, I think it's going to come down, as I said in the forum, Providence is going to have to hold Mallard Creek to 21 points or less. I think if they get to 28, they're the ball game's out of reach, because I don't believe that Providence can score more than 21, 24 points if things go absolutely perfect for them.
I agree with that wholeheartedly.
I think offensive, so defensively they're going to need to defend the edges and force things inside. And I think it's going to come down on offense, really to the offensive line play against that defensive front that is very aggressive, very big, very fast. They are in your backfield in no time. So, Providence is going to have to handle that. And just all I'll say for Mallard Creek right now is that I think they need to be more balanced, and they need to use the air more. I think you can throw against Providence. And defensively, all they need to do is maintain QB integrity. Just keep the quarterback in check at all times. Because everything goes through that quarterback. Everything goes to a quarterback in all games, but you know what I'm saying. Everything flows, the pass, the run, everything goes through him with that read option. So you got to maintain his integrity.
Exactly, and that piggybacks on my key for Providence. They have to be effective running that read option, and they have to run it at the Mallard Creek defensive ends and build off of it. And what I mean by build off of it is, they do it so much that you would think they have a package off of the read option, where you have your play action pass, you have a fake and a drop back, you have other things you can run off that read option with motion. And Coach Harden, I know he has all those things, and I really think he's gonna have to pull him out this week because Mallard Creek is so talented, especially at defensive end with Stephen Askew, and then you got Mr. Hakeem
The Dream, yeah, number 72, yeah.
You know, with those two guys, you're gonna have to use their aggressiveness against them, and the read option is good for that. But the problem comes in with all the other guys. They're not slouches.
Right.
And Providence's offensive line has to be healthy this week. They've got to get number 70, I believe his name's Dixon. They've got to get him back in the fold. I think he was still out last week. And it showed because they really couldn't get movement on West Meck up front. And West Meck has a good defense. Mallard Creek has a great defense.
Exactly.
So they scored 14 on well, they really only scored 7 because the other one was a special teams. They scored 7 points on a good defense. What are they going to do against a great defense?
Exactly.
They're going to have to be able to throw the ball, like you said. That's not an easy task with the pressure Mallard Creek can generate up front. They've had trouble blocking for the past couple weeks. They had a little bit more success last week, but they still didn't throw it that efficiently. They're going to have to pull out everything they can, you know, to find a way to move the ball consistently and drive on Mallard Creek. And it may only happen once or twice. And I think they're going to get another big special teams play. And they're going to have to hit a big play in the offense somewhere if they're going to pull what would be considered a monumental upset. For Mallard Creek, I think you play your game and pound them. You know, West Meck, we mentioned they were able to play good ball control. And, you know, it didn't really work out for them.
Right.
But they were able to control the ball well. So that tells me right there, you know, Mallard Creek will be able to run the ball. It's going to be hard for Providence to get into a formation to where they can, you know, effectively seal off tackle where Mallard Creek likes to run. Because Mallard Creek does a really good job with formation. Coach Brand will put them in 3 wide and force you to defend the whole field. And even though they're a run-first team, they're now throwing a little more out of it. James Smith had 3 touchdown passes last week, 2 to Vernon Greer and 1 to Jalen Samuels. So they're making people pay for when they sell out and put people in the box. So that just makes Mallard Creek even more dangerous. I think the defense from Mallard Creek's got to play disciplined assignment football on that read option. You know, I know Paul Mary's going to go over the fact that this guy's got dive, this guy's got quarterback, and if they do have a pitch man, which Providence will put in every now and then, the next guy will have pitch. Everyone has to play their responsibility well. The one thing that Mallard Creek has had trouble with in the past is dual threat quarterbacks. The problem, though, is Providence doesn't throw that much.
No.
So the dual threat is not as much of a dual threat as you would think it is. I think York has that ability, but you know, they've got to give him a chance to put the ball in the air and make Mallard Creek compensate for both the run and the pass. The other thing, I threw this in here just because I think Mallard Creek, just be sure to watch the penalties. That was an issue again in the Huff game. In their closest game of the season, they had a lot of penalties on them. If there is a high penalty rate on Mallard Creek in this game, it could make it a little closer than you would expect. But, you know, just looking at it right now, I've got my theme for the game is David versus Goliath. And I think that's the feeling that I get when I read what people are saying about Providence going up to Mallard Creek. And Providence has got to embrace that. They got to say, well, no one's giving us a shot. You know, we put our pants on just like they do. We can't be scared. We're going to go in here. We're going to let it all hang out and let the chips fall where they may.
Well, Providence is going to have to execute. They need to contain big plays, make Mallard Creek have to execute more plays. The more plays that Mallard Creek executes, the more opportunities there are for mistakes.
Yeah.
You know, that's what you got to hope for. And then you, on the other side, you've got to execute perfectly. And if you get the more times that you execute, there'll be a time when Mallard Creek may break down a little bit And as long as you're executing perfectly, then you'll get something out of it. But the problem is that most times when Mallard Creek has a little breakdown in one place, the team executing against them has breakdowns in other places that it just totally collapses. So you really have got to do that. People compare. We're trying to say that, I think Bear was trying to say that York looks like a bigger Josh Stilley. No. York is a lot more athletic. He's a more. I think he has better vision with his run. He makes. I'm not saying that the other kid does not make good decisions, but he makes very good decisions in that read option.
Yeah, still he's a drop back quarterback, pocket guy.
A pro type guy, exactly. If I were going to compare York to anybody, it'd be like a Tebow. And I'm not saying he's as good as Tebow. I'm saying his play is more like what we saw from Tebow at Florida.
Right.
That's what they kind of look to get.
This speech is my recital. I think it's very vital to rock around. That's right. On time. It's tricky. It's the tight. Here we go. It's tricky to rock around. To rock around.